So just brief recap, we were just going over basic HTML, CSS last night. Made ourselves a fun little web page. Doesn't do much, but just getting something on the screen. Tonight, like I said, we're going over version control. So version control, just to give an idea, that is what we are using GitHubs for. So this is my GitHub account. Put a link in there just in case anyone needs a quick link to GitHub. But version control is a way for us to save our documents, our web pages, or text documents, whatever you want to save, and be able to track the changes that happen to it over time, as well as who is making those changes. So, for example, if we look at this project of mine, we can come in here and we'll look. I have 79 commits. Commits are essentially like changes, you can think of them as. So I can scroll back and I can see all the way back, going back. I have older, but it goes back to at least April of 2020. And then you can actually then click on these, see update examples, and we can see what is called a diff. And it shows in red here, and it's got a little minus at the front. Might be a little bit hard to see on the stream, but there's a little minus there. And it says that something was removed from this line. And then in green with a plus at the beginning, this is the new text that was in here. So we removed this comma. Now we no longer have a comma in this file. Where you can see down here, we removed this line. This line is no longer here, but we have these new ones here. Or in this case here, we changed the beginning. So this export let, we removed that portion. Resources stayed the same. And you can see here it's a little bit lighter in color as well. So resources stayed the same, but we changed export let to this const supported locales equals object.keys and then some parentheses there. So version control is really handy for just saving and going back. Like if you made a mistake, you can go back and see exactly when you made the mistake, how the mistake was made, revert the mistake so that you no longer have that mistake, which is basically, revert is basically undo. If you're working on a project with other people, you can see who was doing it. So maybe you want to go talk to them and say, hey, why did you make this change? Why was this change important? Which is super, super handy. All right, so brings us back to our website. We want to save our website, presumably, the work we've been doing. So we've been working on Code Sandbox, and Code Sandbox yesterday we had created a GitHub account, and then we'd use that to log into Code Sandbox. And the reason we did that is so that we can very nicely link the two. Now mine is already signed in over here when I click the little GitHub logo button on the left side. If yours is not signed in, just click the little sign in button. Should be able to sign in relatively fast. And once you're signed in, we need a repository name. So what do we want to call this project? I am going to call mine learn-web. And then once you have your name in there, we're going to click create new repository on GitHub. And there it goes, it starts creating for us. Super handy. Now this isn't the name of the file, this is the name of the project. Just so that's understood. So it's saying if you wish to contribute back to wolfodex/learn-web, which is your username / project name, you can link the sandbox to the GitHub repository. This will allow you to create commits. Remember, commits are like saving, basically, and open pull requests with the sandbox. I haven't gone over pull requests yet. We'll do that in a moment. But yes, I would like to link this. That way, all the changes we make here can then be saved back. hit link, let it do its thing. You can see up here that we are linked, which is really awesome. And over here we have no changes right now, which is super cool. If we go back to our GitHub tab, when we click on our username in the top left, we can then click on repositories at the top. Mine is showing up right away. If yours does not, go in the little search box up here, type in, in my case, learn-web, filter down to it, and click on it, and hey, here's all of our stuff. We can then click inside this index.html, and it will show us all of our index.html, all that HTML we were writing yesterday. It's all right here for us, all nice and safe. Quick example then, so let's say I want to go make a change. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so we can see our changes again. I'm going to get rid of this list here. Don't really want that list anymore. So we're going to just select all that, hit backspace to delete it. File save or Control S, whichever you prefer. And you can see we got a little blue icon over here now, which is super handy, a little blue dot. Make this a little bit wider here. All right, so changes 1. Cool. Makes sense. We made our one change. It says that we changed index.html. Yep, that is the one we worked on. And it's asking for a summary, and that is required. So what did we change? We removed the list, in my case. Optional description. In my case, I'll add one. I didn't want the list anymore. All right. Not required, but can be useful, especially if you're making large changes or if you need to add a lot of details. Typically, the summary should be relatively short and concise, and if you need to or want to go into detail, that's when you go down into the description. Now in this case, we're just going to start out with just commit directly to master. Master is the default branch. I'll go over what branches are in just a second, but we're just going to commit to the default master branch. So we're going to commit changes, let it do its thinking, successfully create your commit. Awesome. If anyone's having any problems with this, by the way, please hit me up in chat quick and we can try and work through it. Don't want anyone to fall too far behind. So then we go back over to GitHub, and if we click on code, we can see, hey, I've got 3 commits now. My last one was 21 seconds ago. And click on my commits. Say, oh, hey, I removed the list. We can click on here and say, oh, sure enough, all the little minus signs, it's all in red. That's the code we removed. Awesome. All right. So we have GitHub as a place to store our code, version control it. We have commits, our way of saving it. Another thing that's really handy with this is branches. So before we were on the master branch, which is the default one. You can see that up here in the top left corner. A branch is a temporary work. Usually you have one main branch that you're working on that is your project. If someone's viewing your website on the internet, then they are probably viewing your master branch or some version of your master branch. If you had a legal document that you were storing in GitHub, then the master branch would be like the current accepted version of that legal document. That is the one that is legally binding. However, say you were like, oh, I want to test out some changes with my website, or I want to experiment with, trying out different text in my legal document and see if that makes sense. Well, then instead of making your changes and committing or saving them directly to master, you'd want to create a working branch, some other temporary or just working branch to do things from. So we can do that from Code Sandbox. We'll show how to do that real quick. So I'm going to remove this select down here at the bottom, select it all, hit backspace. We're going to give branch or a new commit name, demonstrating branches. If I can spell branches. Okay. And then now, instead of committing directly to master, we're going to create a branch. It is naming this one for us. I need to save. Forgot to save there. All right. It's nice that it warned us. Okay, so it's saying create branch CSB-Uzoe for the commit and start a PR. Now, typically, if you create your own branches through GitHub, which I will demonstrate in a moment, probably give them a more readable name. My branch in this case would probably be called demonstration, or demoing branches, something like that. But we'll just try the Code Sandbox one first, just to get a feel for it. So we'll commit our changes. Wait a moment. Successfully commit. Can even open the PR, so we'll click that. That's pretty handy. So that opens it for us. If we want to navigate to ourselves, though, we go back over to GitHub. I'll refresh real quick. And you can see up here at the top there is a tab called pull request, and it says 1 because we just created a new pull request. So we click on pull requests, and hey, here's our branch, or our commit, demonstrating branches. If we click on it, see there is no real conversation going on. No one's made any comments. If you are working on a team, this is where you would provide feedback. You'd say, hey friend, hey coworker, I would like you to review my pull request, provide some feedback, any mistakes you see, any improvements you see I could make, things like that. Then you can leave a comment down here. Say, looks good. Comment. There we go. Looks good. Awesome. So I think my commit looks good. My pull request. We can see all of the commits. So this is just like looking at the commits before. See all the changes that were made. Go back. We can also just look at files changed. It's basically the same thing, just a little bit slimmer. So that way, if you just want to skim through all the files that were changed. Then, once you're like, okay, I've read through everything looks pretty good, we can do a review. You can leave a comment here. You can request some changes. Say you don't like the work, or you see a glaring mistake. For a legal document, you're like, oh, no, don't put those words in there, that will invalidate the legal document. Can't have that. Alright, so then we're going to say, leave a comment, looks good to me too. Oh, I can't approve my own. So, approve request changes has to be done by someone else. Can't approve my own, I guess. A little silly, but hey, it is what it is. If we go back to conversation now, scroll down, see this little part down here, this merge pull request, all that green down there. Green is good, means there's no conflicts. Conflict would be if you make a change, say I deleted those select input, and my friend John, he decided to, instead of delete it, he added new options to it. Well, that definitely conflicts. I'm removing it, he's trying to add more to it. This is going to be red right here and say, hey, you got some conflicts. Probably going to need to talk to John and figure that out, and figure out which one of you was correct, which change was the correct change to make. So once you figure that out, you can get that resolved. Should be green again, and then we're like, okay, let's merge this. We're just going to click merge. Yep, That's the description we want when we merge it, the summary. We're going to confirm merge, it will say merging. And then it'll turn purple and say merged at the top, merged down here. We're all good. We click back on pull requests. We can see we have 0 open ones, 1 closed one, which is the one we just merged in. If we go to our code, we can see there are now 5 commits. And hey, we merged this pull request in. Pretty awesome. All right. You can also, where I pointed out master before, you can switch between branches. So we're on master right now, but if you want to go look at that other one and just focus on that one, you can click on that one and just see what is in this branch, what is being worked on in this branch at the moment. You can always go back to master. All right. Yeah. So that is your basics for Git. Especially specifically with Code Sandbox. I do see over here we got our about over here too. Created with Code Sandbox. Probably not appropriate for our project. I mean, yes, it was created with Code Sandbox, but that's not what our project's about. Our description of our project is learning the basics of web development. Period. Website, pretty handy right now. Links right back to our Code Sandbox. In the future, you might want this to link to your actually deployed website, the one that other people are seeing. So that if they come here, they can just click that link and go straight to your website. Topics, we don't need any of those really. That's more up to you. Like you can put web in there, JavaScript or HTML, things like that. So we'll save those changes. There's our new about. If you notice here, there's another one that's called README, and if you see down here, got the same name, README. README, Learn Web, Create with Code Sandbox. Now the README is basically when you come into a project, GitHub will display the README here for you, and it is a way to communicate to the other developers or whoever else is working on your project, like legal, if the other lawyers working on your project. What your project is about, how to get started working on it, and any other vital information that you think is necessary. If there's some licensing going on, it might be an appropriate place to place some licensing information, copyright information. If you're working on it with a large group, maybe you put the names of everyone who contributes down there, just as a little thank you to them and a little acknowledgement to them. Now you can either, if we come back to Code Sandbox and click on our documents over here, we can see README is now here. We can edit that here, or back in GitHub, we can click the little pencil icon and we can edit it directly in GitHub. I'm going to edit in GitHub just because, no real preference why, just to demonstrate editing files in GitHub more or less. Now if you notice, before, when we were just looking at it, Learn Web was very large and bold. But when I look at it here, there's a little hashtag, and it's roughly the same size. That is because our README is written in Markdown, which means we can supply extra characters like hashtags and stuff like that to give it some styling. And if you click on Preview Changes, you can actually see, like, yeah, so that single hashtag and then a space gives us really big text, bolded text. So we'll say Learn Web. We don't want it created with Sandbox, so we're going to delete that. I said this is a project to demonstrate learning the basics of web development. I'm going to come back over to Code Sandbox, grab that URL, because I want to put it in here. I'm going to put 2 hashtags. I'm going to say getting started, a new So I wanted to put that as a link, but that's a link, but it's going to read a little ugly. So instead of putting the full link, instead I'm going to get rid of everything up to the question mark there. So instead of doing that, we're going to put parentheses around this, and then before those parentheses, we're going to put an opening and closing in square bracket, and inside those square brackets, I'm going to put link to Code Sandbox project. So square brackets around the text that you want to see, followed immediately by parentheses around the URL itself. If we click Preview Changes, you can say, hey, it's a nice little link. You don't see the ugly URL, you just get a nice little link. Also super handy, if you see the green and the red on the left-hand side here, GitHub is telling us that, hey, this line right here was deleted, this one was added, this one was added, and this third one was added. So I'm going to go back to edit file though. Notice this is a little bit larger than I wanted. I'm just going to put a little third hashtag on there, see if that looks a little bit better. Yeah, I think it's closer to what I want. I'm also going to go and grab the URL for copy link for the Google Doc. Toss that in there. We'll do another square bracket. Google Doc of agenda. Closing square bracket, opening parentheses, paste that in, closing parentheses. All right, not bad, not bad. However, I think I would like these more to be lists of things. So I'm going to put a dash and a space, and a dash and a space, and I'm going to remove the line between them. We'll go look at preview changes. There we go. Got ourselves a nice little bulleted list. And then I'm also going to grab the playlist from YouTube, toss that in there as well, just so we have it all together. So, recorded sessions, closing square bracket, opening parenthesis, paste, and closing parentheses. All right, I think that's probably enough for now. Commit changes. I'm going to say add getting started links. I'm going to commit this one directly to master. Don't really need to. This isn't going to affect the project directly in any way, so kind of cool just to commit directly to master in this case. Also, working on it by myself, and it's a small project, so even more reasonable too. Okay, commit changes. Go back, click code, go back to the main page, and hey, there we go. Now anyone who comes to this page, which I will link in chat just in case anyone wants to see it, we'll see all of this information for getting started. Hope everyone's keeping up. Oh, Donnie Dorito. Who's this new feller? Hanson Coding. Thank you for the follow, Hanson Coding. Do not see you on the stream right now. Maybe I missed you. Hopefully not. Although who else we got on now? Commander Root, I did not see you pop on. Oliversity, nice to see you. Soul Foxer. Anyone else who I missed? If you need any help catching up with what's going on, just let me know real quick. Or if you got any other questions, just let me know. Hope everyone's evening is going well. All right. So, got GitHub, finding your repos, readmes, pull requests, diffs, merging, branching, creating projects on GitHub. That is about all I wanted to cover for GitHub. There are plenty of other little buttons around here. I do definitely invite you to click on them, explore them. Issues is always a good one. This is for you find a problem with your code, you could create a new issue. Someone else, if you find a problem with someone else's code, you could create an issue there. Might be a problem, might be a question, might be an improvement suggestion. There's a projects tab, which is basically a fancy to-do list. So you know what needs to be done, what's being worked on. There's a wiki tab for creating documentation. Like if you have a lot of documentation for your project, wiki would be a good place for that. Security is always a good one to glance over. Insights, see if people are coming to your GitHub. A bunch of settings, stars, if you want to like, it's kind of like a Facebook like, basically. So yeah, and lots more. Please just click around. You're probably not going to break anything. It's really hard to delete a project on GitHub, by which I mean you're not going to do it accidentally, because it makes you type out the full name of your project before you can click the final delete button. So you have to be really, really certain you're deleting it. So really just go around, click things, figure it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. All right. With that, I want to do some more work on our website. Go back to learning a bit more. Well, actually, before I do that, does anyone have any questions about GitHub or version control or Git in general? I didn't really say it before, but GitHub is just one website for using Git, 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 for version control. There are other ones. If you prefer, there is gitlab.com, also a very good one. I have used it before at work, and for personal projects, it's pretty handy. There is also bitbucket.org. That is also another really handy one. I've also worked with that one many times, both professionally and in my hobby projects. Actually, for most of, I would say a good portion of my career, I've used Bitbucket actually. I highly recommend all three of them. The only reason we're using GitHub right now is because it very handily links up with Code Sandbox. There is also other kinds of version control if you want to go out there and research them. One that used to be really popular is SVN. There's also one called Mercurial. That is usually spelled HG, like Mercury. The Element. There are plenty of other ones. So if that is something that interests you, definitely recommend going out and searching it, or ask away in chat and I can make some recommendations. All right. So back to our website. Want to start exploring some more interactivity, doing some JavaScript, and just get a good feel for that. So we've got our main website here, and let's see. I would like to, on my website, instead of just saying "Welcome to my website," maybe I want to ask their name and give a more friendly greeting. So let's see here. Scroll up to the top. The website, and where's the body? Here is the body. I'm gonna shrink this down so we have some more room to see the code. All right. So it's gonna be a little weird, but a little fun here. We're gonna do bracket. Start typing in label. Labels popped up for us. We're gonna hit enter. Closing bracket. And then we're gonna put in closing label tag. Enter. Okay, so we want a label. We're going to be putting in an input, just a basic text input, and the label is going to say, "What is your name?" Question mark. that nice up there. New line, bracket, we're gonna start typing input, enter. Okay, there, nice little self-closing tag here we got. So we got at the top, what is your name? And we got ourselves a nice text box we can type in. However, I don't want to say welcome to my website, I want to say welcome name. So how do we want to do that? Hello. Sorry, cat is saying hello. All right, so in order to do that, we want to give our input an identifier so that we can reference it, get a hold of it, and talk to it. So we're going to give it a name. So we give it an attribute of name equals double quotes, and we're going to say user dash name. And then just in case the user doesn't know that they're supposed to be clicking in here or entering their name, just maybe they skipped over reading what is your name, we're going to add another attribute called placeholder, and in there we're going to put your name. As you can see, that pops up in a fainter text up here, which is nice. That's what we want. Okay, and then we got our class title down here. All right, so now we need some JavaScript. In my case, I'm going to go and get rid of everything else below that welcome. That way we got a little bit easier to see. Let's come up here. Let's see. Title and each one, we're doing it by each one. We can get rid of all of this. Oh, save and refresh. Does it update properly? Cool, cool. And we're going to say to here, just going to do label as a style, and I'm going to say font size, and I'm going to say 36 pixels. Save that, refresh. All right, well, that's very large, but you should be able to read it, which is the point. More about you reading this on the stream right now. All right, so we got what is your name, and type in a name. All right, so now we need some JavaScript. So add some JavaScript in. We're gonna go down towards the bottom of our HTML here, add a couple lines. We're gonna do bracket. We're gonna type in script space source equals. Now we need to reference a source. I'm going to type in source / index.js, closing quote, closing little bracket, and then we're going to close this off, bracket / script. All right, so we got our closing tag here. And you can ignore this error for a moment, but that's what we need. Okay, so now I'm going to save that, Control S. So we're going to go back over here to our File Explorer, click on the source folder, and we have an index.js here already. That was already there for us. If you do not have one, say you don't have a folder over here, we'll just go through. We're going to delete this quick so everyone's on the same page. Close out that. Go ahead and create a new directory. We're going to name it src for source. And then inside that directory here, we're going to click the little new file button and name our new file index.js. Enter. Now we've got an empty index.js file. If we refresh our page over here, we shouldn't have any errors. If you do have any errors, post in chat. I can try and help you figure them out quick. If you don't want to figure them out on your own, if you want to figure them out on your own, that's also very good. All right, so close this. We have a little bit more room to work with. What is your name? Okay, so we had our input with the name user-name. I'm going to copy that. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say const, C-O-N-S-T, and I'm going to give a name here, user, capital name, EL for element, equals document.get element. I'm going to choose this get elements. Well, we'll change this up. We're going to do get element by ID. Put double quotes in there, user dash name, and then we're going to end this with a semicolon. Okay. Okay, so again, that was const username EL, and we do camel casing here, so the first letter is lowercase, and then every new word in our variable, that's what this is here, a variable, starts with an uppercase letter. I'm going to say that is equal to document.getElement by ID, and then we're going to give it an ID. So what this here is saying is it's going to reach out to our document, which is this, our document, and it's going to look for an element, something like label or input or H1 or script or whatever, and it's going to look for something with an attribute of ID, and that ID's value should be username. Now we have name equals username. Let's change that to ID. All right. So that is saying, let's go out, we'll grab that element, and we're going to store that in this variable here. And the reason we put const is because we don't ever want to change that. We're like, yeah, we're good. We always go, we don't want to come in here and change username L to be the header or be this label. We just always want it to be this. Okay, so then we're going to say, on new line here, we're going to say username L, and Code Sandbox is going to be super helpful and let us autocomplete that. Dot add event listener, and we can click that and it'll autocomplete that for us. And then parentheses. Now we want to listen to any input change, which means changes to what the user has typed in. I'm going to give a comma. I'm going to type function, parentheses, and then put some squiggly braces and a new line in there. I'm just going to put / for comment. Remember from yesterday we had comments. We have our CSS comments, which is /*// and our HTML comments, which is bracket, exclamation, dash, and then dash, closing bracket. Well, in JavaScript, we have //. We also have /*, // We have two different styles. The second one can be over multiple lines, so we can have comment in here, and all of this space here is all comment. The // is just a single line comment. If I go on to the next line, start typing, get a little red squiggly saying, hey, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why'd you put that there? All right, so leave that comment there. If you hit save and refresh, no errors, always a good sign. No errors is, well, usually a good sign. All right, so what we're saying here is our username element, our text input here, we want to listen to input. So whenever there's input on the username, we want to listen to that, and then we're going to give it a function. We're going to do something with that input. This function here gets an event, that input event, and what we want to do is, well, first we want to grab our welcome. I'm going to say const welcome L equals document.get element by ID. Say welcome right, save, refresh. All right, so let's go back real quick. Let's add an ID to our welcome. ID equals welcome. Save that. All right, so now we can grab our welcome. We're going to say welcome dot inner text, capital T, space equals. So we want to change the text from just welcome to be, I'm going to type a double quote, welcome space, and then a plus sign. We're going to say event dot target dot value, semicolon. Save that, refresh to make sure it refreshes. Now, as we start typing in here, it updates our welcome to be welcome plus the value of our input. Welcome Wolfgang. What else we got? Say welcome Daxel underscore 23. Welcome Sweet Haley. Oh, if I could spell. Sweet Haley. Welcome one and all. All right, so that right there is the basics of updating the text box. So it's pretty simple. What if we want to do a little bit more? What if we want some buttons? All right, let's go back. Let's say, just gonna add basic little couple buttons here. We're gonna say button and the closing tag, and the text of this button is gonna say minus, and we'll give it an ID of subtract, and then I'm going to copy that and paste it. And this is going to be add. Say add in both of them. All right. And then in between the two, I'm just going to have a span. That is going to have a value of 0, just a little string. Span is just a way of, it's a simple way of adding text. ID equals, double quotes, and we're going to put counter dash value. All right. Now we get to do a little bit more. We'll leave that up there. Here, in fact, I'll use some comments to kind of annotate what's going on here. So this is updates the welcome text. Come down here, we'll add some more comments, and we'll say this updates the counter. All right, so we're going to update the counter. So, got two buttons, and then we have a value in the middle. We could just update it directly. We could check to see what value it is every single time we click one of these buttons, and then try and do some math on that. However, how about we just store the value here? And since we're going to be changing this value, we don't want it to be const. We're going to say let. So we're going to let count equals 0. Okay. That let is saying we're making a new variable called count, and let saying that this one will change. Eventually somebody's going to change this one. And we're just going to set it to 0 initially. You always want to initialize your values with something, just in case. It's always a good habit to practice. All right. And then we're going to do some of the same stuff as we did up there. We're going to say const minus button. We'll call it subtract button. Subtract button, since that's the ID. Subtract button L equals document dot get element by ID parentheses. The idea of this one was subtract. Okay. And then we had const. We had add button L equals document dot get element by ID parentheses. This one was add. And then we last had our count element, document dot get element by ID. And I think that was count dash value. Let's save and come back here. Oh, counter. Always nice to double check. Add, subtract, and counter value. Highlight that, paste over it. Alright, so we got our 3 elements. So, first, take and copy and paste the subtract button element. We're going to add an event listener to it, just like we did with the text one. However, in this case, instead of listening to input, we're going to listen to click. So we want to know when the user clicks on it. When they do, there will be a function with an event argument. And we're going to say, when that is clicked, we're going to say count equals count minus 1. So we're going to decrement it. Alternatively, you could also do count minus minus. Or if you don't like that one, you could say count minus equals 1. That is also valid. However, we're gonna go with this first one here because it's a little bit more explicit about what's going on. It's saying we're taking the current count, we're subtracting 1 from it, and then we're gonna update the new count to that value. I'll leave those other ones in there just in case you want them. There's actually technically another one which is minus minus count. Yes, many ways to do the same thing. Very, very common in programming, many ways to do the same thing. All right, so we've updated our count. Now we need to update the element on the page. We're going to count L dot inner text, and we will say that is equal to the count. So we're going to save that with Control S, refresh just in case. Minus, look there, see, we can count down. Keep counting down, keep counting down. Just keep doing it. Oh, thank you for the thank you for the follow, Carlos. Nice. All right, so we got that. However, our add is not working. So, take this, I'm going to copy lines, paste. So now, instead of the subtract button element, we want the add button element, so copy and paste that in. Still adding an event listener, listening for click. We can actually get rid of this event here. It doesn't really matter in this case because we just want to know that it's being clicked. Alright, so now, gotta be careful here since we copy and paste it. Always be careful with copy and paste. We don't want to subtract 1, we want to add 1. Just like subtracting 1, you can also increment by 1 in very much the same ways. And we're going to update the value in just the same way. Save that, refresh, and count down just like before. But now we can count up as well, so we can go back and forth. Super handy. But if you notice here, one little thing. So we're doing the same thing twice here. So after we modify the value of count, we come in and we update the text on the screen. Now, if I went, I decided to spell this all the way out, element, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I gotta change it here and I'm done. Well, no, I'm not. I can subtract still, but adding, oh, that throws an error. Because count.l is not defined because I forgot to update it. Well, in this case, luckily we had We had code sandbox to help us out. Tells us where that mistake is. However, there's another way to kind of help us alleviate the chances of that happening. Come down here, function, space, we're going to say update count. Update count, okay? And that is going to take one argument. Say new count, squiggly braces, okay? And I'm gonna change these back because I like the shortened element name. So we're gonna say update count. So count is equal to new count. We don't know what the new count is, but it's gonna be up. It's gonna equal that. And then we're going to update our text here. So we're gonna say update count. So we're going to come in here, we're going to remove all this, and we're going to remove this, and we're going to say update count. We're going to call that, and we're going to say count -1. Semicolon. Copy and paste that into here. Don't forget the plus, because this is adding, not subtracting in this line here. So now, don't forget to save. So now both of these, whenever we click either of our buttons, they're going to say update count, and they want the new count to be count -1 or count +1, and then our update count function, we're going to assign count to that new count, and we're going to update the element. So refresh. Don't forget to save and refresh if it doesn't seem like it's working. Always good to double check that. Let's see, minus add, both are working, exactly one. And now, if we go through and we say, I want to name this counter L, well now, I'm only updating that in 2 places instead of 3. One less place to make a mistake, super handy. Yeah. So, that is getting close to the hour mark. Time tweezle. Was the reason for doing that to simplify the code? Yes, it simplifies the code. It reduces, in this case, it's probably not super necessary. If you just have your code in like 2 to 3 places, it's usually fine to copy and paste and just duplicate things. However, when you start moving, like say you're doing the same thing in like 4, 5, or 10, or 20 places, then moving code out into new functions is super useful. It makes your life a lot easier. It makes it easier to write the code. So now if I need to, say I wanted to add a reset button, third button, do that real quick. So I'll just quick add that in. It's going to call it reset. Oops, if I spell correctly. Save that. Come in here, new button. Can't have 2 buttons with the same name, that wouldn't make sense in here. Alright, copy and paste this. I'm going to listen to reset element, and I want to reset to 0, save that, refresh our page. Now if I click minus a bunch of times, hit reset, it goes back to 0. You see, I didn't have to say that the new count is 0 directly. I didn't have to tell my counter to update. I just said, hey, update the count. Do whatever you need to do, you handle it. So yeah, that is a perfect example. Nice, excellent question. Thank you. All right. So, I'd say that about covers it for everything I was planning on covering tonight. Does anyone have any other questions or anything else they would like to talk about, or things they're curious about on this? My next session, which I do have up in the Google Doc, will be more about building apps, more than just counting up and down or changing some text. So we'll be building just a simple to-do app, just simple keep track of things, with the focus too that when you refresh the page, you don't lose your whole list of to-dos. It stays there, which is super handy. You don't want to lose your to-dos. So that will be next Monday at 7 p.m. my time, which is also up on my Twitch page. After the stream, I will have this. I will work on getting this up on YouTube as quickly as possible. You can find me at Wolfadex on YouTube as well. And I will have it in with my playlists under the Intro to Web Dev. I'll put it here just in case. I believe I also have it linked on my page as well, on my Twitter page as well. Yes, I have the first one linked up. I will make sure that every session we go through, I link them. I won't keep all the sessions up on the Twitter channel. I'll probably only keep the 2 most recent ones, or so, whatever seems to fit well. Yeah, so I guess if no one has any questions, I will be signing off the stream for tonight. Well, I know there is a slight delay, so I'll wait a moment. Thank you, Time Dweezil. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.